I'm Catherine Goshen, a professional astrologer from the village of Nyack in New York State, and I'm passionate about in-depth astrology and getting to the heart of the matter. In this video, I'd like to speak about the astrology of July, and if time allows and the energy is flowing, I'll also get into August, because I think it's nice to have a 2-month overview of what's going on. So if you're coming to this video late, end of July, then just forward it to get the August portion. And if it turns out to be really long, I will cut it into 2 videos and put one for July and one for August. So we're in the Cancer season as July opens. We know that the sun moved into Cancer near the end of June, with the heralding the solstice. And this move of the sun into Cancer is bringing us a cardinal water season where emotions are close to the surface, and yet there is also that drive to action that cardinality always brings. And for those of you who do reside in the USA, as I do, even though I am born in South Africa, we are now coming up to celebrate. July is the time of celebrating America's independence. And I invite you now to get your charts out. It's always helpful when you're listening to a forecast like this. Some of you might already know your charts off by heart, which I strongly recommend. See if you have anything in that 23, 24, 25 degree zone. This can be cardinal. This can also be mutable or fixed signs. So really any planet or angle in that zone, because this month it's very, very activated. And we don't get to choose when these events will happen astrologically, but we do get to choose how we react to the energy. So Independence Day weekend in the US, a lot of strong energy, a lot of energy available to use. So how will you use it? Will you drink a lot and hang around and get into arguments with loved ones and let the energy dissipate? Or will you exercise, take on athletic competition, decide to do a very important project around your house, decide to do whatever is within your power to concentrate and elevate the enormous energy that is being released as the month gets underway. The second degree areas that are very activated at this time, and they're our old friends because we've already dealt with them with the Saturn-Uranus square, which is still going on. This is the 11 to 14 or 15 degrees of fixed signs. So once again, I invite you to check your charts. Do you have any planets or angles at 11 to 14, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius? And those are the degrees that are being activated by the planets. This means there is energy coming in which needs to be released, and how we use that, whether it's for prayer, for forgiveness, for achieving our goals, or whether we use it to divide, to dissipate, to protest, to create violence, is really a choice. And once we become more aware of how astrology is working on us, both as individuals and as nations, we are then given a little bit of opportunity with which to change how we react to things. So I invite you to think very deeply about that this month, wherever you are in the world. So that very early part of the month, June 30th to July 3rd, more or less, we know we have the Saturn-Uranus square, and we've got Mars coming in. So first of all, Mars will be in opposition to Saturn. Saturn is in Aquarius, Mars will be in Leo, and then Mars will come to square Uranus, which we know is in Taurus. So how does this manifest? It's a stop-go energy. Mars is our action planet. Mars in Leo is often said to get away with murder. It is very energetic and it likes to be the center of attention at times. How can we use that Mars to benefit others, to benefit ourselves, but in a positive way? Because that Mars is wanting to go, yet Saturn, opposite it, is putting the brakes on. And this can cause frustration, action that is turned inwards, that cannot express itself. And then we have coming into that T-square, Uranus, which says, just do it, it's happening suddenly, it's happening before we know, before we had time to think it through. So a beautiful aspect for athletics, a beautiful aspect for achieving goals which are preset and concentrated. And your best attitude here is to try to regulate your energy over these few days. So don't allow yourself to go too much one way or the other. You need to set a steady pace on whatever project you've set your mind to. And this will be the best way to work with that energy. If you're traveling, take it easy, allow time for rest stops. The roads will be busy in the US. It's a holiday weekend. And I invite you all to treat others on the road as you wish to be treated. In particular, the whole early part of July will be very intense for those of you that are born May 1st to 5th, August 4th to 8th, November 2nd to 6th, and January 31st to February 2nd, give or take a day or two on either side. You've already been experiencing the Saturn-Uranus square for the whole year, so you know what energy you're under. Now Mars is coming along to bring whatever has been dormant and brewing to the surface. So expect action and be centered in your approach to dealing with whatever comes up in the early part of July. And it does not need to be negative. It could be something incredibly positive. We don't need to fear Mars. We don't need to fear Saturn, and we don't need to fear Uranus. If we are centered in our own energy, these planets, as they come together, they are a necessary impetus for us to change, for things to be brought to the surface so they can be seen. And Saturn-Uranus is very much about putting new structures in place for structures that have become a little bit old or worn out and they're no longer serving us. Mars brings that action. So how will you utilize that? Then coming on from this, we have the time frame July 4th to around July 9th, intense on July 6th. And this is those mutable degrees I mentioned earlier, the 20 to 25. Now, if you recall, we've been dealing with a Mercury retrograde, and in the early part of July, even though Mercury has moved forward again, it's still in its shadow period. Now, for those of you who do recall, we had Mercury traveling from 16 degrees of Gemini to 24 degrees of Gemini. And we've had a Mercury-Neptune square on and off since May. And first we had it when Mercury was direct. It squared up with Neptune in Pisces. Then Mercury retrograded back and made the square with Neptune for the second time in June. And now in early July, with Mercury direct again, we're going to have that exact square with Mercury in Gemini square Neptune in Pisces at 23 degrees. This can also add to confusion during travel, especially if Mercury is in your third house or you have Mercury in your chart at that exact 23 degrees of mutable signs, possibly even Mars. So check your charts. 23 degrees, the mutable signs are Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, and Sagittarius. So if you have any planets, but in particular Mercury or Mars at that point, you will once again experience that square with Neptune. And the confusion that surrounds is delays in travel, plans having to be changed, etc. So I invite you to, when you're booking your tickets, take out insurance or pay that extra $10 or $15 for your hotel booking so that you can change it if things don't go your way. And once again, there's no need to fear, because the positive side of this aspect is a very deep ability to connect with a more open-minded, spiritual approach to communication, to thinking, to intuition, and not allowing yourself to be caught up in any kind of delusion or confusion. You could have an openness to whatever is flowing in at this time. And the only challenges that arise is when we are trying to get a lot done in the material world and Neptune is slowing us up. It's saying, I don't work on that frequency. I'm working on a less material frequency and a more sensitive frequency. And if you'd only open to that frequency and possibly slow down a little, then everything will change both inwardly and outwardly. So perhaps that's a mantra we can bear in mind over that period of July 4th to 9th, and to know that that square will finally be separating and moving on after that. And on July 8th, Mercury will exit that shadow degree, and the following day, July 9th, we will have a new moon at 18 degrees of Cancer. So Cancerians, this is your new moon to set your intentions for the year. And for all of us, we can be reminded of the true meaning of the sign of Cancer, which is to nurture and to be secure. And if we are able to nurture ourselves and feel secure within our own lives, we are then able to take that nurturing and to nurture others and to spread that throughout the world. I love the Cancer new moon because it's a time for self-nourishment. It's also a wonderful time for a spring clean, even though it's summer in the Northern Hemisphere and winter in the Southern Hemisphere. A great time for a spring clean because Cancer is traditionally associated with the home, and the new moon is always a time to set intentions and to start afresh. So I invite you to clean out your kitchen, maybe do a top to toe and throw all those things out the cupboard that you're never going to eat and that have an expired sell-by date. And you may also wish to do some work in the garden, clean it out, neaten it up, nourish the earth, feed your plants. And also in the bedroom, closets. Closets accumulate a lot of things over the year, and clothes that you don't wear create an emotional baggage. Donate them, give them away. If you haven't worn something for a year or two, it's most likely that you're never going to wear it. So why are you holding on? And that's something that the Cancer archetype is renowned for holding on. So how can we learn to open the heart, which we will be called upon to do in the Leo season, and to allow the nurturing to flow, to not hold on to it. Let go, let go. Everything will be fine. Something which just came to mind for all the mutable signs that we were talking about in connection with the Mercury-Neptune square is, remember that you and all of us are still under the influence of the solar and the lunar eclipses that happened last month. You recall we had a lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Sagittarius, and then we had a solar eclipse at 19 degrees of Gemini. So that affected those of you with placements very strongly. And for all of us, the house that we experience those eclipses in, the axis, is going to be activated for quite a few months until December. And I'd like to read something from Dr. Bernadette Brady, who has written about the Saros cycles, which are like an energetic theme for each series of eclipses. And I found this very inspiring. This is what she's written about the June 10 eclipse that we experienced, the solar eclipse. A very unusual Saros series involving sudden flashes of ideas that seem to have a psychic or unconscious flavor to them. Hunches, visions, prophetic dreams are the essence of this family of eclipses. A truly creative series that should leave the individual enriched. The idea or hunches which come from this eclipse can be acted upon. So all of us are still under that energy, and once again it reminds us that there is this unconscious world that if we only open to it and allow that intuition come in. And Uranus is also great at bringing these inspirational moments to us, then our lives can be lived in a very different way, where we are not dominated only by the day-to-day mundane events. And what I find interesting is that Cancerian people themselves are generally very good at connecting with this deep psychic or unconscious energy. And we can all tap into that a little bit more during this Cancer season. Then after that new moon on July 9th, a couple of days after that, Mercury will shift from Gemini, where it's been for so long, into the sign of Cancer. And we know that when Mercury enters that 0 degrees of cardinal range of the zodiac, this is a very public position of the zodiac. So for us personally, it's a wonderful time to advertise our business if that's appropriate for you, or to put yourself out there in any way. And conversely, if you are a private person or your views are best not expressed publicly, be aware that this is a time when things can come to the fore. So be mindful of speech and be careful of saying things that are appropriate in every circumstance at this time. As Mercury activates that solstice degree, July 11th, July 12th, it's going to form a beautiful grand trine with Jupiter. who is now hanging out at 2 degrees of Pisces and is retrograde there. And think about that Pisces, the water sign, Cancer, the water sign, a trine. They're giving the energy easily to one another. So a beautiful day for thought that is linked to feeling. And we would have to activate ourselves at this time to utilize that trine, because trines come easily, unlike the squares or the conjunctions and oppositions which try to propel us into action. The trine is a flow, and we need to make it work for us. If you're writing a book, this is a beautiful day to write or to do something that helps you to promote your book. And the water signs are also linked to that emotional connection with spirit. So also a good time to meditate or to connect with family, because that is a beautiful, softer period compared to the first 7 or 8 days of July. Then we have several other smaller measurements as the month progresses. One of note is on July 17, we have the Sun in Cancer in opposition to Pluto in Capricorn. That is at the 25-degree cardinal range once again. And Sun Pluto is always about self-empowerment. So the energy is available. How will we use it? Will we allow ourselves to be feeling opposed by someone who is in a more powerful position to us? Or will we meet that energy halfway and realize that there is a way for us to step into our own power and somehow create a balance of power? And this is an interesting time of the month where we have a yod forming, where Venus in Leo will enter into a 150-degree relationship with both Pluto and Neptune. And those 3 planets will all be at the 25-degree range. So enormous potential here for creativity and for moving forward with projects that have been really in embryo since 2020. If you remember the early part of 2020, we had that enormous activation of those cardinal degrees. We had the Saturn-Pluto conjunction at 22 degrees cardinal. We had Jupiter-Pluto coming together, and so on. So projects that you started in early 2020 and were put on hold, now in July we're going to see the potential for this to activate, to unfold, and for the story to finally begin to show where it's going to end. Venus will leave Leo and will enter the sign of Virgo, where she will be until August 17th. And I love this period. Even though Venus is not strong in Virgo, it's a very auspicious time for a body cleanse, or for seeing how your health habits are out of balance. This can be eating too much or eating too little. Eating only a certain type of food, very rigid, strict diets, they can come under the spotlight now as August gets underway. And you may want to pick 2 or 3 days for a cleanse, or for evaluating and being very discerning about what you put in your body temple. On July 22nd, we end the Cancer season and we begin the Leo season. So the sun will ingress into Leo, a hot and dry sign, and we should all be sensitive to that shift. Leo rules the heart and is connected to the sun, and it is a very opportune time to focus on healing the heart and on warm and sociable times with friends and family. So I wish that all for you. Straight after the sun moves into Leo, we have a full moon. And this is the first of 2 full moons in the season that are going to be in Aquarius, which is really unusual. So the one on July 23rd will be at 1 degree of Aquarius. And then on August 22nd, just before the sun goes into Virgo, we're going to have another full moon, which will be at 29 degrees of Aquarius. So my Aquarians out there, and those of you with a lot of planets in the sign of Aquarius, you're getting a double dose of activation from the planets at this time. The moon is to do with our own inner nourishment, to do with our bodies, and to do with our very earthly, real, emotional response to things. So, and Aquarius is very much about connecting with the group, connecting with those beyond ourselves. So together with the Leo archetype of opening the heart, how can we make overtures to others at this time? Maybe step beyond our own boundaries of who we socialize with and what we think about others, and enlarge our group. The moon will be shining an area on this chart for the whole world. Aquarius, humanitarian endeavors. How can we be more available to help others during this time? So it looks like at this full moon on July 23rd that there's going to be a lot of action and plans could change very quickly. And you may be called upon to be the calm leader and to be able to make very quick decisions in the moment. So bear that in mind. And also we don't want to find ourselves getting involved in any kind of verbal disputes around July 22nd or 23rd, because we have a Mercury-Pluto opposition. So use that time to, you might be organizing a party, you might be going on a trip, there might be some kind of group activity going on. And the whole message of that first full moon in Aquarius is to be flexible and to allow everyone in your group or your party to express themselves and get the job done in a way that they deem is satisfactory. Let go of control. So on July 28th, Jupiter will dip back into Aquarius. So we recall that Jupiter turned retrograde last month in June, and it's been moving through Pisces, that 210 degrees Pisces. Now it's going to go back into Aquarius and move all the way to 22 degrees of Aquarius. So Jupiter will be there until the end of December, and we will be given this opportunity to finish off things where that, in that house where you find the 22 degrees to 29 degrees of Aquarius in your chart. So please check your charts and see which house holds those degrees, because you're getting that second visit from Jupiter. Jupiter was just there in the early part of this year, and Jupiter in Aquarius wants you to finish off any kind of group projects that you started then. You have a whole 6 months to do this. And it's also activating the consciousness of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius that is moving us all into a new age where we are forced or propelled to become a more technologically based society. And we can see this so much in the rise of cryptocurrencies, in the rise of conferences held on Zoom, and in the changes that have taken place in our society over the last 18 months. On July 29th, Mars will move into Virgo. That's a big shift for Mars. Mars has been in Leo for a while, very active, very fiery, very strong. And then it's hard to believe we'll already be in the month of August. And we know that the sun moves very slowly through the summer months in the Northern Hemisphere. But somehow with the vacation and the summer season here, it seems to me that the sun is moving quickly, because I write a full blog post at the beginning of every solar month. So when the sun moves into Cancer, when the sun moves into Leo, you can find that on my website at goshenastrology.com, together with all the charts for the new and full moons. And you know, by the time it's August, it seems as if the year is racing, as if I'm writing one update after the next. But I will have those up on the website for you as early as July. So on August 8th, we have a new moon in Leo, a beautiful new moon at 16 degrees of Leo. And in that chart, you will see Uranus, the maverick, squaring Mercury. And Mercury is in Leo, very close to the sun. So that can propel us towards innovative ideas. And it's also a time to be cautious when you travel. But I love this idea of the Leo-Taurus combination here. We are still going to see that Saturn in effect because of the Saturn-Uranus square. So once again, we have this T-square of energy that we can use. And it's neither good nor bad. We get to decide what we do with it. So for those of you that have followed astrology for a while and who try to experience it in the body and not just intellectually, you'll know that the new and full moons are always times where we can become closer to ourselves and we can harness the energy that is available in order to do what we wish to do. The challenge at new and full moons is to allow the energy to scatter by going too outwards. For those of you that practice yoga, as I do, and have been very blessed to have as a constant in my life for many years, you'll know that the Yoga Sutras, they always advise that we do not practice at the new and full moons, or that we do a very restorative practice at this time. And that is to facilitate the energies going inwards and not outwards. Time, so August 8th, August 9th, August 10th, we have Venus, who is in Virgo, in an opposition to Neptune in Pisces. And when Neptune and Venus get together, there can be the most beautiful idealization of love. It can be a very creative time for artists, for painters, for dancers. And with this higher love and this feeling of openness, we do have to be careful of giving ourselves away too much to somebody else if they are new in our life or if we may not trust them. So I invite you to be open-hearted at this time, but also to be aware of where you place your trust. By August 16, Venus will leave Virgo and enter Libra, where she is at home and she rules. And this will give my Libra friends a little boost, maybe a little bit of extra money come in, or some of your problems will be put on hold for a while. And for all of us, Venus in Libra invites us to work on our social skills. And as I like to say, the art of conversation is not yet lost. Perhaps we can all, including myself, try to listen to others and to practice this dying art of elegant and harmonious conversation and social skills. Perhaps you will invite somebody around for tea or coffee and actually set out a tray with real bone china. Then on August 19, Uranus will station retrograde. And this brings us to the point where we have a whole grouping of retrograde planets. We have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto all retrograde now. So this seems to give us a chance to kick back a little bit as a planet, and nation-wise. It is sometimes a really good thing when Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto are retrograde, because they cannot express their intrinsic qualities. So we get a bit of a break. With Jupiter retrograde, Jupiter is the greater benefic, so there is usually a sense that we would prefer Jupiter to be direct, but the retrograde cycle is lawful. We cannot all be on all the time. We all need to rest. We all need to take pauses. We all have times when our energy is moving forward and when our energy naturally rests. So as above, so below. And I'm going to end off this video with the second full moon in Aquarius on August 22nd, because this is also just before the sun moves into Virgo, and I feel that there is an enormous wealth of information in this video for you to work with. So this new moon has a moon quindicile Mars aspect, and this is something where we may be invited to put our convictions to the test and to actually live them out, or to follow through with them. So remember, we spoke about Aquarius and the need for helping the group and humanitarian endeavors. And if we don't express this energy in a positive way, this can lead to frustration. So this new moon is a beautiful opportunity to live out our convictions in a positive way, volunteer somewhere, do something for somebody else. And this would be a very powerful way to work with the energies of that final second full moon in Aquarius. I wish all of you well, and I will see you in the next video, and I will post all these full and new moon charts on my blog. Until next time.